9-year-old boy in Gaza is more of a man than a 25-year-old in America.
Now, I knew when I posted this video 2 days ago that it would generate a certain level of outrage and comparisons. And I do agree with him when he was saying that a 9-year-old boy in Gaza is more of a man than a 26-year-old here in America, simply because of their maturity and their outlook on the world and things of that nature. But then when he starts droning on after that concerning the over-sexualization of children in America compared to what goes on in the Muslim world, I do believe that we over-sexualize our children at an early age in America compared to what they do in most of your Arab nations. But what he fails to talk about is all the things that they do in their country to young girls, as far as things like female circumcision, which meaning they're cutting off a young girl's outer clitoris, which is traumatizing to say the least. And yeah, the girls there are not over-sexualized, but he doesn't talk about what they do with young boys. You see, on one of the briefings that I had when I was going into my first Arab nation, they instructed us as far as if you see a grown man who is not the father holding a little boy's hand or a young boy's hand, then that is more than likely or possibly his sexual partner, his plaything. The word fornication back in the day originally meant stop fornicating. To the Greeks, stop having sex with young boys. So although you may make a good point about the fact of how we over-sexualize children in America, and I agree, but you have to also look at how you are traumatizing young children through sexual acts in your Arab countries. Yes, America may have more situations that are accounted for as far as like sexual assault, but many of the women in your country can't claim sexual assault because of your religious laws and how you treat women in your country. The fact of the matter is this, and the main point that I want to get to and be done. In both cases, what you have is a circular religious Western culture that talks about being nice and pure, but yet goes opposite to that based on whatever the current rage and culture is, to a very strict religious culture that is so patriarchal and so fearful of women actually coming into their own levels of sexuality at a given time, that you push them down to the lowest regions that you can possibly think of, and you traumatize their body, then you traumatize young men's body, and then you claim that all in the good and decency of your religion. If you just look at these children as children, not based on your religion, not based on your culture, but as children with emotions, with feelings, with mindsets that you can disrupt and traumatize, whether through surgery or through your abuse, you would stop doing all these things. If you take it out of your religion, where you have these people who were in a culture hundreds of years ago where it was normal for them to have sex with a young girl as soon as she has her period and claim that she is a woman, realizing that those people were wrong in how they thought, but they wrote it in your religious books and they made it where it was permissible by your deity. If you stop looking at the fact that young boys were for fun, this is what they told us when we went into some of these Arab countries. I was in the Marine Corps, that young boys are for fun and women are for having babies. That was the culture we were walking into, and that culture was based on your religious text. And whether you have taken your religious text and created a doctrine that actually goes opposite to your religious text, but made it fit your culture, that is the problem with you. So although you make a good point in the very beginning, your whole entire conversation is thrown into mothballs, is thrown into trash because of your own iniquities that you have in your own country. Stop comparing what you do to someone else and what they do, because at the same time that you got one finger pointing at other countries, you got four pointing back, three pointing back at you. All of it is wrong. Children are to be cared for. Children are to be nurtured. Women are to be cared for. Women are to be nurtured. Men are to be cared for. Men are to be nurtured. We are all supposed to be put in a position where we can grow, with the least amount of trauma so we can become the greatest version of ourselves. If a country actually realized that their best interest is to put in place safeguards and opportunities for people to grow up in the best possible situation, to be the best that they can possibly be, it will make their country the best country it could possibly be. But instead, you take on your religious ideas, call them moral, compare them to somebody else so that your immorality looks moral, when in fact it is all immoral, because you're saying some deity that you have no proof of have given you permission to do these heinous things. You have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.